So my age demographic, I'm 48 years old. Growing up, we were really active. So my dad was involved in sports, played a lot of sports in high school, but just like anybody else, we grow up, we put fitness and health on the back burner. I had 2 kids, and in my early 30s, ended up being 274 pounds at 44% body fat, wondering how the heck did I get here? So that was the beginning of my journey. So I grew up in Baltimore, in the city, and it was pretty hardcore. My mom left when I was 7. I was stuck with my dad, and he worked, 3, 4 jobs to support us. And I had too much time on my hands, and I got involved and started getting in trouble in the neighborhood. And by the time I was 13, I was drinking, and I started doing drugs. And those behaviors just got worse. The drinking went to pot, to PCP, to acid, to mushrooms, to various different pills, to cocaine, to even messing with methamphetamines, a little bit of heroin here and there. And that put me to dire straits to going to prison 3 times before I finally got it. They say 3rd time's a charm, right? So the first time I went to prison, I was like 95% sure that I wasn't going to do anything else. I got released early, and I believe I was back in within a week on a violation. So that made it my 2nd time back. And then after I got out, I was pretty much like 96-7% sure that I wasn't going to do anymore. And what did I do? I was a little sneaky and started playing around again. And bam, that ended me up the 3rd time in prison, Department of Corrections, for a 5-year sentence. Total, I spent 8 years of my life in the Department of Corrections. So they have these different levels of security. The first time I went to a Camp Snoopy, it was a level 2 yard. And then actually, that was the whole 1st and 2nd time. And then the 3rd time I went into prison, it was for armed robbery. And they put me on a 4 yard. They only go 1 to 5 for security. 5, they don't let the people out of their cell. They let them go in a little cage for recreation. And level 4 is violent crimes, violent offenders. And that's for people that get out of those level 5s to go there. They call it gladiator school. And I remember the first day I went in, an electric door opened up, shut behind me, and then another electric door opened, and bam, there I was in a 2-story pod with a bubble. They call it the fish bowl, with the officer controlling all the buttons. And I looked up, and all these windows had a head looking out the window down at me. And I had these bags full of clothes, like prison clothes. They're all orange and boxers. And then I was in this orange jumpsuit. And I remember looking up, and I said, wow, this is going to be my life for 5 years. So my 3rd time in, I was on top of a prison sink smoking a joint. And I remember getting down off of that joint, and I was stoned. And I asked myself, what kind of dad goes to prison on drug-related crimes to do drugs? That was February 23rd of 2006. So what I did, the 24th, I made massive action happen. I quit everything. No more prison hooch, no more drugs, cigarettes, anything, and I started working out. And that was February 24th of 2006, and that's when I said, I'm taking my power back. And from that day forward, I worked out religiously. I did proper nutrition to the best of my ability that I knew how in that environment. And then I worked my way down into different security, and I ended up on this one security yard, and this guy named Rob kept asking me to do a fitness class with him. And I asked him, I said, look, if I join your fitness class, do you promise to never ask me again? And he said, absolutely. And it was from that day forward, when I joined a group fitness class, that my whole life changed. And what I did is, when I got out, I moved in my mom's house. It was in her guest house. I gave her a promise that I would stay there for 1 year before I went out anywhere else. And I asked her, you know, what do you think I should do? And she didn't want me to go back into the type of high pressure sales that I was in because the environment's not healthy. So there I am. I'm in my mom's living room looking for employment. And my mom's going, no, do not go back into high pressure sales because that's a pretty shady environment. So I said, Mom, what am I going to do? She said, do what you were doing in prison. I said, boot camp? She said, yeah. I said, what am I going to call it? She said, mindful fitness. I was like, man, that sounds cool. She goes, that's what you're into anyway. So we called it Mindful Fitness. And it was Brown's Boot Camp by Mindful Fitness. So I didn't have a license. I didn't have a car. I didn't have any means. I had a very little bit of money. I had 800 bucks. I put 600 in the bank. The bank kept that because I was in bad affairs with the bank before I went. I had 200 bucks left. I bought a cricket phone for 150 bucks. I had $50 in my pocket. I was on food stamps living in my mom's guest house with my 85-year-old grandma. And man, I had to light a fire under my butt. So I got on that bicycle, my stepdad, 15-year-old Walmart bike, got on that bicycle, rode all these trails of Oro Valley, even out further. I remember going way further. And I would ride every day from 5 a.m. to like 6 or 7 p.m., except on Sunday. And what I did is I passed cards out to everybody I met over and over and over and over again. And I just made friends. You know, I'd pull up next to somebody. I'd say, hey, how you doing? My name's Randy and I do fitness for a living. Come do my fitness program. And I got so many people together for the first orientation that we had to break it up into 2 days because we couldn't fit all the people in the building. And we wound up having 14 boot camps, and the most boot camps in the city of Tucson. And then we transitioned to Soul Fitness. We took more of a holistic approach, even though it was always that from the beginning. My delivery really stunk because, you know, I was pretty hardcore, rough around the edges, out of prison, you know. And we changed it to Soul Fitness to take on a more holistic approach, body, mind, and soul. Again, even though that was always the approach, but to come up with a better delivery, a better vehicle. And what we do is we actually help people take their power back. That's always been the goal of Soul Fitness, Brown's Boot Camp. So on the trails, I had my backpack, my water with me, my protein bars, and I would carry these like little, you know, the little memo pads with the little spiral. And what I would do is I would get their names and numbers like this. And then if I had a check next to the people, that meant that I actually got them to come do the program. Because I would keep calling them, and sometimes I would call them, and I'd call them from different numbers. I'd go to my mom's house. I'd go to businesses, ask to borrow their phones, and this was my iPhone back in the beginning. So here's the infamous Razr flip phone by Motorola. Man, I used to think I was so cool with this when I was riding my bike and I'd get a phone call and bam, this is Randy. And the phone rang so much that we actually turned it into a business line. And that's the same phone number we have today. So I keep this right in the front of my wallet. And I always want to keep that there so I can always remember where I came from. And no matter how bad my days are, if I'm having a bad day, I can look right there and know that my days are never going to be this bad today. I'm really big on rituals and routines. Also structure, discipline, and consistency. You know, I get up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I do my yoga routine. You know, I do meditations, you know, hydration. I sit down and I do reflections. And quite often, I reflect about how fortunate I am to do this for a living. I actually get to help people become more healthier with their body, mind, and soul. And it's super cool to see them with their chest out a little bit more pep in their step, more of a genuine smile. And I know what happens is when you help people in this capacity, it spills over into all the areas of their lives. And just when I step back a little bit and I get to look at that, man, this is what I do. Isn't that cool?